Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Well, this summer, Disney has a movie coming out called Inside Out. It's all about emotions. And Dr. Nick joins us this morning to talk about emotions in children and adults. Do we ever really learn to deal with them, and much more? Great to see you.
Good to see you, Whitney. Can't wait for the movie.
I can't either.
I mean, they really put out some great educational stuff. That's really wonderful.
Even the trailers look marvelous.
Because emotions are wonderful. So let's start off by me asking you the basic question.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm great.
Great. How's your day going?
It's going terrific.
How's everything at the house?
Wonderful.
Okay. Do you hear what happens?
It's
blah.
Yeah.
You know, how was school?
Yeah.
Fine. How was school? Fine. Okay.
This is something new that you're doing in therapy, and I'm fascinated by this.
I think again, it's been around forever.
But you're using it.
As you know, and some of the audience knows, you know, I've had a difficult few months. So I go to see a good friend of mine who's a therapist, and I sit down, and he pulls out a sheet similar to this.
Okay.
And he says, Nikki, tell me some of the feelings that have been going on inside of you, and how some of your emotions. And I'm like, oh, well, it's just been tough. And he pulls out a list.
And there's only 50 emotions.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm somewhat ashamed, I've got some depression going on, but I'm hopeful. And I start getting teary-eyed. Now, I'm 60 years old with a degree, and I need a sheet of paper to help me struggle with my feelings. But it's real. You know, we sit at home and we talk to our kids and say, well, how was your day? Well, they're going to say fine.
Fine. So ask better questions. Right?
Ask more specific questions. What was the one thing that stood out today in school? Oh, I hit a home run. Oh my God, how did you feel when you hit the home run? And you've got the sheet to help them. And you can add feelings to it. The point of having feeling words in front of you and images is that you don't have to think so hard. So that means it helps pop up, because the natural impulse is to say good, fine, great. And yet we're missing. I'm working with someone, and he was talking about, it was avoiding every feeling, and I said the one feeling that you've never used is you've never said, I'm hurt, I'm hurting. And he has now started to say, that hurts.
Why is that so important that he did that? What does he get out of saying, I'm hurt?
He owned the emotion, and he didn't throw his finger out at somebody else and say, you did this to me. You made me act this way. You're the cause of all my problems. He owned the fact that hurt. Your behavior, whether it was intended or not, hurt me.
And then where do you go with that?
Then you start looking at how we might figure out a way for either me to dodge the bullet when you get that way.
Okay.
Right? Not take that on because that's about you. Or we can distract ourselves to find things that make us feel better. We can put ourselves in other situations. But again, it's almost back to how we set it up. One of the reasons why therapy, I think, can be so powerful for people is because it pushes them into the internal world. What's going on inside of me? I really am sad about this. Then be sad. And sometimes it's really very rational to be sad.
Sure. Or frustrated. You know, that one on here, I get that way a lot.
Frustrated. And what is frustrated? I feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall all the time.
Well, and then sometimes you can't do anything about it.
Right.
And that adds to more frustration.
Now,
but how do I get to the
I was going to say, you take your frustration now and you get in your head and said, okay, what's really causing the frustration? What's going on in my head? What might be going on? I'm thinking of an example. That's a fair one. An example might be, I think when you started the show, you had maybe 2 cameras and it was very frustrating, and now you've got 4, okay?
Right.
So you were able to get in your head and say the frustration is that I don't feel like I've got enough cameras. You could do something about it, okay? But there may be some frustration in that my head's telling me Reed is driving me crazy. Okay, and then I want to say,
16-year-old.
And then I want to say, Whitney, why don't you put in your head, Reed is 16?
Oh, I see.
And Whitney, do you remember when you were 16? Do you hear? And then I think you can bring the frustration level down.
Right, right.
People don't realize that emotions are they're just natural, they're just real, and they need. One of the things I love to do again is instead of at the dinner table or out at a restaurant, again, tell me one thing that you loved about today. Tell me one thing that was hard about today. And when you see a movie together, tell me one thing that really jumped out at you. How was the movie? It was okay. No, tell me something that really struck you and how it struck you. And now you start moving into that emotional realm. It made me feel this. I love movies because they raise emotions.
We're going to have to go see Inside Out.
Yes,
and talk about it. Wouldn't that be fun?
We are going to have to. And then ultimately, Whitney, we want to get to where the emotion doesn't do damage or destroy or hurt other people or ourselves, right? It's okay to be mad. It's not okay to hit.
Sure, absolutely.
And you know, that's another thing. Isn't it funny how we say hitting someone is terrible, but hitting a child is discipline? Well, it's just, I'm
Thank
thinking,
goodness
what is the emotion?
fewer people are saying that now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, think about the emotion and what's that's doing emotionally.
Sure. So if I'm frustrated with my computer, which I get sometimes, I'm not going to throw things against the wall. I'm gonna do a tutorial or go to Apple and say, how do I fix this? Or call an expert or a friend who's an expert.
Or what else could you say? Think of some others real quick. I can do this. I can handle this. This is not the end of the world.
Right.
It'll get done or it won't get done. Huh? I'm going to end up in the same size box whether I have the computer or not one day.
Right. I love that. I can do this. Sometimes just that.
Now again, you're putting in a context. I can do this. I can handle this.
Yeah.
This is not that big a deal. There's now a lot of people talking about self-talk, and they're saying you should actually use your name in the self-talk to change the emotion. Whitney, you can do this. Nikki, you can do this. I think that's interesting.
Sounds like a Seinfeld episode. Whitney's hungry. Whitney needs to go close the door. Whitney needs to feed the dog.
No, it's going to sound like we're working on double personalities. But even that, I think we do have multiple. So
you're right, but emotions are real. They're not going anywhere, and I guess
they need to be pulled out sometimes. It's not enough to say, how are you?
Right.
You look like you're sad, or you look like something went down wrong today. Do you even want to talk about it? And maybe they say, I don't, but later. And you go back to it. Okay, how did it feel?
Sure. Get those emotions from the inside out.
Inside out.
And we'll be back with much more Weekends with Whitney right after this.